One final hour left for cars to secure their spot on the grid for the 2020 Open Wheels 500-mile race presented by Mitchell Transmissions. After yesterday's pole day, it was last year's winner Michele Constantini that set a new track record with an average speed of 231.392 miles an hour, netting him the Pit Lane Parlay Pole Award. He also became the only driver to lock himself into the field of 33 cars, and today we lock in the remaining 32 cars that will fill the 11 rows for a 3-wide start in just 1 week's time. Hello and welcome to RaceSpotTV for Bump Day coverage. And in just 50 minutes time, we will know the 33 cars that will roll out onto the Brickyard next Sunday for the 500 miles of racing action. My name is Arjuna Kankipati and I'm joined in the RaceSpot booth for this one by Jonathan Burke. And Jonathan, qualifying for the iRacing Indy 500 is stressful enough. You get infinite attempts and you get a full week to set your qualifying time. Here, there are just 3 attempts to lock yourself in, and we still have a few drivers that might have the speed to bump drivers from the field.
Yeah, it's a bit more like the real world where you have to have this stress of making sure you get that perfect run, and you only get so many runs to do it. Again, one of the glorious things about iRacing is you can do runs and runs and runs over again, at least for the iRacing Indy 500, but here, they want to take this seriously as we have our list right now. You can see the red line on the screen. That is the bump. Currently, Randolph Chenworth is on the bubble in position 33. Several other drivers still looking to make their way in.
Yeah, there are still a few drivers in the field currently out on track, just getting warmed up for his final run at qualifying. It's Chris Stouffer for Powerslide Motorsports. He's been battling some technical issues throughout the week. Just got a brand new wheel and pedal set to use for this final qualifying run. And for the number 13 machine, one last do-or-die attempt here. Ignore, by the way, once it does update, you'll see a position on the left-hand side of that graphic next to Chris's name. That's not his actual position in the qualifying order. Instead, just the position that he's got out here in the session. But one of the unique things here as well, Jonathan, is this warm-up lap. So we're seeing Chris right now building up the speed, but most importantly, trying to preserve his tires so that on lap number 4, when the tires are screaming out in pain, he's still got some grip as he makes it out of lap 4 on turn 4.
Yeah, it's some of the things that you want to take into consideration when you're talking about qualifying here in the IndyCar here at Indianapolis, is you do have that lower fuel load. However, because of the less downforce that is with the IR18, it's so brutal on the tires sometimes, and it really depends on the setup as well. I know the fixed setup sometimes can be a little bit of a pain, and it will be very, very mean on the tires, but you have to really conserve even throughout every single lap.
So here we go then, lap number 1 for Chris Stouffer. His warm-up lap, a 40.736 as he builds up the speed, but as he comes out of turn 4, we'll get his lap 1 time in just a few moments. We do have qualifying graphics that will show you his 4-lap average that's powered directly from Race Control, so that will come in as Race Control gets to inputting it to their own internal system, as Stouffer's now going to dive it through turn number 2. His first lap was a 38.926. That's a very good first lap there for Stouffer. And that's going to set him up nicely now for lap number 2, 3, and 4. We're just getting the time in now, I believe. So up on your screen then, 38.926. That's lap number 1, and we'll wait for the rest of the laps to come in. A few other drivers that we should talk about with opportunities to make it into the field. You see current bump driver Randy Cheneth, who is a RaceSpot commentator. No more runs left, I think, unfortunately. So that 39.020 is going to be the last run that he's got. Right now, looking very good for Chris Stouffer. You see the lap number 2 come in 38.898. The average of 38.912. We are going to see some drop-off on lap number 4, Jonathan. But, I mean, currently tracking for a front-row start as things stand.
You know, you talk about him having technical issues. This will be the little reward for, you know, getting through all those technical gremlins, you know, getting on that front row. And especially early on in a big event like this, I think you want to be up front and avoid any trouble towards the back.
And one unique thing is that 3-wide start. iRacing only supports the 2-wide start by default, so we'll have a manual pace car and a manual formation lap to set that 3-wide order. Lap 3, 39.019, so the average of 9.48, but still trending positively for Stouffer, currently outside the field looking in. I think a driver is going to be quite worried who's sitting in our TeamSpeak as well. I see him connected here, and speakers off, not wanting to talk to anybody, but Randy Cheneth looking very nervous, I would assume. Lap number 4 then for Stouffer. He crosses the line for his 3rd and final qualifying run. What's it going to be? The last lap is a 39.113, so we'll just wait for that average to get updated as Stouffer's going to lose the car coming out of turn number 1. Jonathan, it's good that that happened after he finished that run, because in the field, 24th place provisionally now.
Yeah, pretty high and safe, depending on how many runs everyone has left. And again, good that he lost it afterwards, but if he lost it beforehand, that would have been devastating. It's so hard to lose these cars, especially out of turn 4 and 2. If you hit that little bump, little apron just a little bit, it could send you for a wild ride.
And for someone who I'm sure was feeling the pressure coming into this one, you know, with the wheel issues, technical issues that may have prevented him from putting in too many practice attempts. I mean, last time I assumed that Stouffer did many practice runs for Indy 500 qualifying might have been back in the month of May, and a lot of setup development has gone into the cars since then, Jonathan, because the Indy 500 this past May was one of the first, in fact it was the first 500-mile race run in iRacing with a brand new aero screen, as well as that brand new additional engine boost that the cars get. So record speeds, like I said off the top of the show, Costantini with that track record of 231.392, record speeds by both official open wheel standards and the iRacing official 500 as I believe it. So next driver out is going to be Joshua Huffine, but some impressive times, and I'm sure a lot of these teams are quite glad they had some more time to develop the cars since the month of May, especially with such an important event and with bumping such a big deal here in the Open Wheels 500.
Yeah, more time to develop the cars, more time to get used to everything too. I know when I was first on like the Indy Fix series, like the aero screen in front of me, I was like, oh, this is a bit weird. I got to get used to this a little bit. So everyone trying to get used to it, everyone trying to adjust their settings accordingly. And I think the aero screen also helps for a track like Indianapolis. It creates a bigger hole for drafting. So I think during the race, we're going to see a lot of, you know, intense action.
Oh, and that is a bizarre incident for Joshua Huffine, who has just lost it as he was about to begin his warm-up lap. And I think that's going to invalidate the run for him. So unfortunately, I mean, he was getting ready and setting up for his qualifying run. Let's take a look at a RaceSpotTV replay. What happened there, Jonathan?
I think he might have just lost it out of 4. He ran really, really wide. Everything is smooth. He leans up towards the
He just
wall.
steers into the wall. He still got...
I'm honestly not sure on that one. Like, the wheel wasn't, like, turning blatantly like it was a hardware failure.
Yeah, take a look here. I mean, he still got steering control. You see there a little bit of a jerk, and as soon as the car straightens out here, you'll see that correction a little bit to the left. I wonder if he was just not paying attention there. Slightly embarrassing in some ways, because that is, like I say, his run done and dusted.
I wonder if it's not... It was like something like did not calibrate right or something, because when we were parked in the pits, it was a slightly angled towards the right, so maybe something was not calibrated right before he went. We don't know, but anyway, Sadie Simsport, excuse me, John Doing now on track, and he's going to be looking to make some improvements to the field.
Yeah, and the Sadie team, I'm trying to just look through on your left-hand side. On the left-hand side, by the way, you will see 1st through 33rd, not in the order they will start, but the way this works in the Open Wheels 500, day 1 starters, qualifiers that set their times on day number 1 will start in front of cars that set their times on day number 2, and that is why the only person that is currently locked in was the fastest driver from yesterday, Michele Costantini. That's why 32 spots still left to be locked in, and we'll be able to run you through the actual starting order come the end of this qualifying session in about 33 minutes time. But John Downing starts to wind up his Dallara IR18 now, and he's going to begin his warm-up lap, and number 20 car has to now put in a good run. Where are the rest of his teammates, you might wonder? Simon Bryant currently in 28th with a 39.003. Looking through the rest of your currently locked in drivers, I'm not seeing any of the other Sadie teammates as things stand. So if the Sadie team wants to have a few cars in the field, it looks like Downing is going to have to bump out Oliver Silva. And there are 3 drivers you'll see there with a 39.019. That doesn't necessarily mean that their average speeds are identical, Jonathan, because the speeds obviously do go to additional significant figures compared to what we're seeing up on our qualifying graphics.
Yeah, but you can see how close at the bottom, how tight it is towards that bottom of the bump. So everyone's going to be kind of sweating, even if like someone like John Downing can set a really good time. He goes out of turn 1. Everything looks smooth right here. It's all about being smooth on these qualifying runs. The wheel, you can't, have any big maneuvers. You've just got to be really, really smooth.
So Downing out into 3 now. That first lap time was a 39.020. Just waiting for race control to enter that so we can show you that up on our graphics. But that is not the best first lap then. The number 20 as he now crosses the stripe for his second flying lap. That's a 38.970 if I'm reading that correctly. Not trending positively right now for Downing. Especially, you were talking about being smooth, Jonathan. Being smooth is really rewarded on laps number 3 and 4 as those tires fade away. We've seen the lap 4 drop-off be quite significant. Unfortunately for Downing right now, it's not looking promising. If lap 4 is anything worse than the 39.1 as he's about to come out of 4 to complete lap number 3, he's going to be in trouble.
I think anything in the 39.1s, like that's going to be setting off alarm bells in the driver's head as well as any of his teammates or crew's heads, because that's just not fast enough. So we have the graphic come up 38.995. It's barely in right now, but when we see that third and fourth lap, that's a better picture, I think.
Well, third lap, I can tell you, is a 39.025. Downing currently on the outside looking in, I think. 39.005 would be his average if he stopped it now, but lap number 4 is where all the drop-off is. Downing's going to work his way then out of turn 4 for the final time. He's actually got one more run left in qualifying, so he may actually have another attempt at it. Across the stripe he goes, and that is a 39.220. We'll wait for our 4-lap average to update, but I don't think that's going to be enough for the Sadie driver. One more run, like I said. He's one of the few drivers that does have another run in his pocket, so that is going to help him. I can confirm average is a 39.059. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen as well. That slots him into 39th in terms of the overall running order for times. Jonathan, I talked about it not trending well, and unfortunately for Downing, well, one more run, and it's really going to have to be a perfect run based on that one.
Yeah, I don't know if you can go back and watch when he came out of 4 that last time, but you saw the back end kick out, and I think that was the moment that he lost it. I think if he kept it under control and that rear just didn't slide a little bit, I think it would have been fine. He was close, like it was a nail biter towards the end. If he had something a little faster than a 39, it would have been good.
I did say anything higher than a 39.1 would be an issue. A 39.2, though, was disastrous for his hopes there, as we now await the next runner out onto track. That's going to be the number 63. Fabio Viana for Blackstripe Motorsports. The number 63 car works his way then on the access road, on the pit exit. He'll have this lap as an opportunity to just work his way out of the pit lane. He'll have one more lap to work up the speed in something that's unique to the open wheel qualifying format, something you don't see in the regular iRacing Indy 500 come the month of May. But Viana on the outside looking in right now. I'm trying to look as well, Jonathan. I'm not seeing him in even the top 50 as things stand. So Viana's not one of these drivers that we're necessarily expecting to be a factor in terms of bumping. There are other drivers, though, however, that might be a factor. We've got John Downing, who might have another run. His teammate David Adams, I've just seen, is requesting a run. Oliver Silva in 33rd is also requesting a run. He seems to be worried that 39.019 is putting him in a lot of danger right now.
I'd be worried too. I'd be concerned if I'm sitting anywhere below 30th, especially with those 3 guys that are all tied at the same time. I'd be like hounding race control, like, hey, can I have another run? Hey, can I go? Can I go? Can I go? You know, even like we're talking about Fabio Viana, who may not be a bumping threat. Who knows? Like 63 may come in with a flying lap time. So it's really anyone's game, and it's different from the real world as well, where you see in the real world there's only a handful of guys that can bump out. We're here in the sim world, we have so many guys in here, our graphic can show them on screen.
Yeah, 110 entered for the Open Wheels 500. We haven't seen all 110 actually out on track, unfortunately. One driver we talked about yesterday in the pole day qualifications with some of his teammates was Zach Campbell for the Apex Racing Team and Team i5G. He's busy working on competing in the Porsche Esports Super Cup qualifiers as he tries to get a World Championship license for the first time to compete for his share of $300,000. He's having to unfortunately skip this one. The two-time winner of the iRacing Indy 500. Indeed, the only two-time winner. The only driver to also win back-to-back Indy 500s. Well, Brandon Traino, part of the pit crew in the NASCAR series. He works for both a Cup and Xfinity team, I believe. Unfortunately, Jonathan, he was a bit busy out on track today. There's a certain other race that's happening at the same time as qualifying this weekend.
I can't put my mind to it. Is it something to do with the desert? I think they're going around in circles, I believe. Right? Something like that.
Something like that. But there you can see lap number 1 up on your screen for Viana, 39.063. So, unfortunately for him, Jonathan, I mean, that lap number 1 not trending well. He's currently outside even in terms of the lap 1 pace, and as we see the fall off, I think that's probably looking at a run that's going to put him maybe in the 40s to 50 ranges right now.
Yeah, you really need that first lap to be down in the 38s. I think there's no way to even make the field if you have a 39.0. So trending better, but still like only good for 37th on track right now. And again, you said 105 participants. This is a really hard and cutthroat field. So like even if you don't make it, I'd take a 37. I'd pat myself on the back for that one.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of these drivers, especially someone like Viana, who is not someone that we saw this past year on the iRacing IndyCar iRacing series, which we had live broadcasts on the iRacing Esports network of. But, you know, so much work goes into the setup, and I talked about putting in work as Viana,
he's in the wall. As
Viana's going to get into the wall in the short shoot between 1 and 2. That is his qualifying run done and dusted. Doesn't matter what the average is then. That is going to delete any previous run he has on the board as well. And we'll wait to see if he's going to try and get another run. I'm not sure if he has another run as things stand, but we're working towards the end of qualifying as well. Just 24 minutes left in qualifying. The top left of your screen, the iRacing session is going to be alive for 10 minutes beyond when the track actually closes for qualifying attempts. So the queue of cars is building up. I'm seeing an increasing number of drivers requesting runs in the iRacing race control chat, and guess what? No one else other than Randy Cheneth about to head out. RaceSpot's own Randy Cheneth driving the VCO Madrinas Dallara IR18. He's heading out there with the support of Team Chimera with Team Talent. And Jonathan, I mean, we're not just commentators sometimes here in the booth. Randy is someone who has taken a step away from competition for the recent few years, but good to see him back out there. Currently sitting in 34th. He's obviously going to delete this run. Previous run rather, making this attempt, but he's got one more opportunity, and he might only need a few thousandths of a second to make it in. There you see Young O, the 30th place car, 39.017. If he can go a bit faster than that, he should be looking pretty good.
Or even just a tenth faster, and then well up into the top of the field. So it just matters about being smooth. But you're right, like I love running these things. I love running the Open Indy 500 as well, although I'm a little further down the order, so I cannot get on RaceSpotTV, unfortunately, but I love running this IndyCar. I love running the IndyCar Fixed Series. I know you love the LMP2s. Every time we do endurance, you have a special place in your heart for that car.
Absolutely. You know, LMP2 car, it's great to see Dallara in general getting into iRacing more and more. We can't talk about Dallara without just recognizing their support of iRacing over the recent few years. I mean, it started when we got the IR18 body into iRacing before it even hit the track in anger for race laps, but then we got the aero screen due to unfortunate circumstances earlier this year before it, again, debuted out on track. So the iRacing Indy 500, the first Indy 500 run with an aero screen, we can make that claim. Other notable things include, of course, the introduction of the Dallara LMP2 car under the restrictions over the last few months. But Randy Cheneth winds it up then for lap number 1. That warm-up lap was a 43-second warm-up lap. So interesting to see various different approaches here. Cheneth taking an almost 44-second lap. We saw Stouffer a little while ago on his qualifying run go with about 40 seconds, I think that run was. But lap number 1 then for Cheneth, 38.995. So good lap number 1, but it's all about the next 3 laps here.
It's got to be smooth but consistent. We're riding on board right now, going through this second corner, and this is where it all can go wrong. You hit that little apron on the bottom, you hit that little rumble strip, and it could all go wrong. You can see, staying in 5th gear, interesting choice. Usually I ride around in 6th when I'm qualifying. Maybe he has it geared slightly different and has that 6th gear as more of like a drafting gear.
Yeah, that was something I noticed yesterday in qualifying as well, and it was very interesting for me. I couldn't really figure out why, and I'll have to go back and talk to my own teammates about that and see what they've been doing. They've been so busy preparing, and I've been so busy with various broadcasts prepping for the qualifying draw that we got to show. That was on Thursday. That was a very fun broadcast to do. Tanner Watkins joined me for that. We wait for lap number 2 to then show up on the board. 38.995 was lap number 1. Lap number 2, 38.968. So trending in the right direction for Cheneth then. Can he hold on for laps number 3 and 4? It's looking pretty smooth right now, Jonathan. And I think ultimately you can see he's also getting close to the wall. And that is also important in terms of building up that momentum and carrying it through all 4 laps.
You want to make these corners as curvy as possible. You don't want to jerk the car. You don't want to, you know, have any sudden movements. You have to be really, really smooth. And also, I think they may be in that, you know, 5th gear. Maybe they're burning more fuel, so they have less fuel on laps 3 and 4. Make the car a little bit lighter and easier to handle.
So lap 4 is going to be crucial for Cheneth now. 38.990 is the average. That would slot him into 25th in terms of time set across the 2 days. 20 minutes left in bump day qualifying. 33 spots up for grabs in next week's Open Wheels 500-mile race presented by Mitchell Transmissions. Lap number 4 coming to a close for Cheneth. Across the stripe he goes. What's it going to be? 39.108. We'll wait for the average to update then, but that, I think, is a good...
That's going to be close.
That is a good sign, potentially. Oh, no, he's just matched his previous time. 39.020, Jonathan. What bad fortune for Cheneth. He's still on the outside looking in.
My heart hurts a little bit. Just a thousandth 4-lap average behind Oliver Silva. Oh, that was... Like I saw the 39.1. You said it. You can't be above that margin. You just can't. You have to be below 39.1 in order to get in the show.
That lap 4 proving to be so difficult then. And Cheneth, using his last run, has probably just made Oliver Silva a very happy man. Silva waiting in the queue to then head out onto track. But unfortunately for Cheneth, that is going to be his attempt to qualify done and dusted.
So yeah, it's unfortunate.
And we're just waiting to see now, Jonathan, who else is going to be brave and head out on track. There you see a car starts to roll. That is Young O, multiple-time pole position sitter at the official iRacing Indy 500. Well, he rolled off yesterday morning 6th onto the track. I made a bold prediction that he was going to set a new track record with that would not be broken for the remainder of the qualifying. However, that was a run he had to wave off. The car was not looking like it was happy. And right now, Young sits in 30th out there. And potentially here, Jonathan, we're looking at a glory run to be set. Young is someone with so much experience at showing up here at the Brickyard for qualifying and putting in those 4-lap runs. Well, it's his last chance now, and if he doesn't get this right, he's out of this race.
You know, and I think the other thing that has concerned him too, you know, you talk about him being such a qualifier. He's sitting 30th right now on the timing screen. So this is a guy who's probably looking at this and going like, no, I can do better.
But a very interesting strategy right off the bat. Take a look at the speed, already in excess of 370 kilometers an hour. We're going to see what this lap time is. This is his warm-up lap. He's burning off those tires to an extent that I do not understand. What is lap number 1 going to be? What's the warm-up going to be, rather? We'll just wait and see in 1 moment's time. Out of turn 4 for Young O then. Previous pole position. He had the pole position this past year for the iRacing Indy 500, pipping the Team i5G right at the line. The last few qualifying sessions were where Young Oh took that pole position. A very risky move then to head out onto track. That warm-up lap, a 39.243. Jonathan, we're going to wait and see these lap times as they come in, but I don't understand two things in here. One, why he's going. He's currently looking pretty safe in 30th, if you're asking me. Number two, he's burning up his tires here on that warm-up lap, and we're about to see what his lap number 1 time is in just a few moments' time, but lap number 4 is not going to be pretty based at, on this. It's just not looking good for Young, I think.
Well, the first one I have to say, it has to be ego. Like, you talk about him, you know, sitting on the pole for the official iRacing Indy 500, and he's, again, looking at this and he's in 30th, and he's like, no, I can do better. I can show that I'm here to race. I'm here to play. 38.9 first lap out. You gotta hope for me to be faster, but maybe he's doing that fast warm-up lap just to get in a rhythm. I know, like, doing something different on the warm-up lap may not be a good rhythm maker, but you're right. It's gonna hurt the tires.
I tell you what, let's jump on board with the number 23 all the way up to the wall as he's going to cross the stripe once again. This is lap number 2 of the 4-lap run. On board with the ludicrous speed, number 23 down into turn 1. I can confirm lap number 2 on this run, 38.950. This is not looking good. And interestingly, we were talking about 5th versus 6th gear. Youngo in 6th as things stand. A reminder.
The revs. He's getting towards the top of it, which that's interesting. He has a very shorter gear ratio than we saw Cheneth going with.
And that's something that we haven't seen from many runners across both days of qualifying just yet. Out of turn 4 once again for Young Odon. What is lap number 3 going to be here? Reminder, if he doesn't make it into the field on this run, he is done. Previous time gets deleted when you head back out onto track. Lap number 3, 38.997. Ooh, Jonathan, if he doesn't have a 39, if he doesn't have anything below a 39.1, I think, again, he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, he's going to have to be really, really smooth there. We're heading out into the final corners now. Turns in for turn 3. Again, you want to make this as round as possible. Gets out right by that Indianapolis logo. That's a logo I love using as a little bit of a marker on the track. Gets out towards the logo again, up against the wall. It looks pretty smooth. It looks pretty good.
What's it gonna?
His fingers.
What's it gonna be then across the line? 39.049. That is a good lap number 4 from Young Oh. There you can see the average, 38.990. He goes right behind Chris Stouffer, who we saw qualifying about 30 minutes ago. Young Oh, that risk has paid off there, Jonathan.
And it definitely puts him a bit safe too if he's worried about getting bumped out. I know, again, sitting in 30th place, I would be still a little anxious, but that probably makes him feel better, and it's probably, again, helpful for him to get another run out there and get some more track time.
I'm sure, though, he will be very disappointed overall in the lack of speed in his car. He is almost a full 10th off of the current pole position time, and that is, for someone, Jonathan, who is regarded in almost mythical terms here. Talk to Will Vincent about Young Oh and his qualifying record here at the Brickyard. It's shocking, quite frankly. Even though you see the rest of his teammates are around him. One of his teammates, Tim Doyle, you see down there in 28th. Joe Branch as well, down there in 37th. I mean, it's just very surprising to see someone of that caliber struggling so much here in qualifying.
Yeah, especially when he has a lot of poles and has a lot of top tier things to his name. Yeah, it does surprise the struggle, and I think, again, that's one of the reasons I think he went out again, is that he's probably surprised that he's struggling as well, that he is still a 10th off the front. Because he's probably thinking, wow, that felt really good, that was really smooth, and he's looking at the timing sheet and going, oh, I only moved up 5 places.
So I think then 13 minutes are left. David Adams out on the track right now. So another Sadie Sim Autosport driver trying to make his way into the field of 33 cars. His teammate John Downing also has a run. Just give me a few moments as I'm trying to now take a look as more updates come in here. Simon Bryant has withdrawn his request to head back out onto the track. So clearly in 29th place. David Adams' teammate feeling quite comfortable as things stand. So the current running order for runs is going to be the 0, then the 20. So that is John Downing. So 2 Sadie teammates going to be back out on track. Then next, will be Oliver Silva. So the current bump driver has put himself into line, and he may be the last driver that gets a qualifying run under his belt. David Adams then winds it up on the warm-up lap. Jonathan, 12 minutes left in qualifying. Am I right in thinking we have enough time to squeeze in 3 more runs?
Oh, you're making me do math. So 40 seconds about per lap, including that warm-up lap. So actually that's about 200 seconds per lap. It's going to be close. It's going to be tight. I would not be surprised if neither the 20 or the 00 manages to get in if Oliver Silva doesn't withdraw immediately after. Because there would be no reason to risk it, right?
Well, I think that if Silva requests, or rather, if Silva decides not to take his run, who is next up in the queue? One sec. So it says the number 63, but I'm taking a look at my timing screen. That's Fabio Viana. Okay, so maybe not a contender once again in terms of the bubble itself. Who would be next? That's the number 43. That would be Dakota DiCienzo, currently in 30th. Okay, so here's what's happening. 11 minutes left in this qualifying session. Ignore the fact that the graphic says 20 minutes. Yes, I know. However, the way this works is with 10 minutes left to go in the session, the track gets closed for future qualifying attempts. So David Adams is about to complete lap number 1 on his run, 39.025. Can he go quicker than on the next few laps? His teammate Simon Bryant, currently the highest placed Sadie Sim Autosport car, in 29th place with a 39.003. So just walking you through the different scenarios once again. David Adams working on his qualifying run. Once he's done, John Downing, his teammate, will head out onto track for his qualifying run. We then have the potential for maybe one more run, and that would either be Oliver Silva, or if he chooses to withdraw from the line and not risk the qualifying time currently up on the board, then that would be passed over to number 63, Fabio Viana. So David Adams then, as he has some brief technical issues connecting to the server. Take a look at the average as things stand, 38.999. That is going to be very close here, Jonathan. This is all about the consistency then on laps 3 and 4.
He's going to have to be in the 38.9s on lap 3. There's going to be no way. Like that 999, it's right by his teammate, which, you know, that's a good sign right now for things to come. Hopefully, maybe even for the 20. But if you're Oliver Silva, you're looking at this and just crossing your fingers and hoping he goes a little slower.
Ooh, 39.000. Lap number 3. So the average doesn't change. One more lap then for David Adams. One more chance to try and make it into the field of 33. Down into turn 3. He's going to dive the 00 for Sadie Sim Autosport. How's the car looking? Car's looking fairly balanced until it got to the mid corner and then a slight wobble through the short
watch
chute.
The rear coming out of the corner here. It was a bit smooth, but on his teammate, it came out on him earlier.
Well, that coming in through turn number 3 wasn't great. 39.117. We'll wait for the average to update. I don't think that's going to be good enough.
It's going to be like a 39.03 average or something. I'm thinking in my head. I'm calculating in my head. Calling it. I'm putting money on it right now.
We wait for the time to update then. Let me see if I can get a direct update from Race Control, maybe. $39.029. I've just got confirmation. Not going to be good enough. Take a look on the left-hand side of your screen. That slots Adams into 37th spot in terms of times being set. So not going to be a factor in terms of the bubble then. I think
I said about like 39.03. I was almost bang on the money.
That was pretty good actually, yeah. But I think Jonathan here, with 7 minutes 50 seconds remaining in this qualifying session, John Downing will likely be our last attempt that we actually get to witness. Downing is rolling off the pit lane. You can hear him in the background as he winds it out of the pit exit road. You'll see here as well, cars try and use as much of the track as they can. Often in the official iRacing Indy 500, of course here, when This outlap isn't a factor. You just roll around as slowly as you can, and this is do or die for John Downing, Jonathan. He's 40th as things stand. He needs to find a whole heap of time as compared to that last run that we saw. And you have to remember, his teammate, who's probably running a fairly similar setup to what Downing is running now, was missing about a full 100th of a second there as compared to that bubble time. So Downing really needs to find something special if he wants to work his way into the field.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's going to be any changes made on that car. Again, we saw in that last bit of his final lap, he lose the back end just a little bit out of 4. So just something for a bit more stability. He goes down into 1. I believe this is still his warm-up lap. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Still, I think his warm-up lap, yes. So still winding it up. He'll have an opportunity.
He'll break the toe. Break the toe of someone who's ever following him.
That's what I was trying to think. He must have a imaginary drafting partner out there. That's how he's hoping to find a little bit of time. But already in excess of 360 kilometers an hour then. Working his way through turn number 4. We might actually have enough time for one more attempt at this rate. 6 minutes left on our clock then, before qualifying is done here for the Open Wheels 500-mile race. What can John Downing do then as he works his way down into turn number 1? Car looks fairly settled, but again, this is not the important lap. Lap 1, the easy lap. It's all about laps 3 and 4. That is going to determine if John Downing makes it into this year's race.
He's going to have to be smooth. He's going to have to be consistent. This first lap looks good. And if he has a flying first lap to really bump that average, that could help too. But he doesn't want to chew the tires up either. It's, it's such balancing act. Like with this 4-lap qualifying, you have to be able to manage that first lap and that 4th lap.
And think of what Oliver Silva must be going through right now, sitting on that bubble, watching the number 20 as he makes this qualifying run. You want to know what the difference is, by the way, between all of those drivers with a 39.019? I take a look at my miles an hour. Well, Dylan Freckleton's average speed, 230.658. Oliver Silva, 230.655. There is 0.003 of a mile an hour in this, and I think Downing got a little bit squirrely there coming out of 4 that last time, Jonathan.
Yeah, it seems to be that car's kryptonite right now is coming out of 4, and we have to watch him coming out of 2. Oh, that was close to the wall coming out of 1. We're going to have to watch him out of here as well. Turn 2 and turn 4, both very, very similar in how you come back out onto that straightaway.
Yeah, let's take a look. You see the average right there, 38.998. I see Oliver Silva in our chat, by the way. He says he's in his rig, ready to head out. He's the next in queue. If Downing bumps in him, there is that opportunity to head back out onto the track to complete that final qualifying run. Downing across the stripe once again. What's the time going to be? 018, not trending in the right direction. Downing needs a monster, a heroic lap number 4 to make this work, Jonathan. Average right now, 39.005.
He has to go faster than on lap 3. There's going to be no other way to put it, because that 39.018 is a 4-lap average of, say, Oliver Silva. It's almost identical to that lap.
Just getting a reminder from Tanner Watkins himself. Gun sounds in 4 minutes to signify the end of qualifying. Downing across the line then for his final lap in qualifying. What's it going to be? 39.106. Not going to be good enough. Downing is out of the Open Wheels 500-mile race. There you see the average, 39.030. He does improve on his previous time, but behind his teammate, still down in 38th position.
And Oliver Silva is probably just hitting that withdraw button as soon as possible right now, because he's thinking, I'm safe, I'm okay.
All sorts of emotions going through these drivers. They're all talking about this in our YouTube chat. We are watching this, by the way. There's just so much action out on track that we are transfixed by the emotions that all of these drivers must be going through. They're talking about, by the way, Jonathan, if you're not paying attention to the YouTube chat, they're talking about having the same qualifying format for the official iRacing Indy 500. And you know what? After the last 50 minutes that we've just witnessed and all the tension that's just been sitting in the air, I can appreciate why.
And I think you get the best of the best and the fastest of the fastest. You talk about, you know, sitting in 25th place, has been sitting on pole for some of the official Indy 500s, and yet he's sitting in 25th place, Yang Hao. So we have Fabio Viana, who had a huge accident coming out of turn 1. I don't even know if we got a replay of that, but that was a, I don't know if that was a driver error, if the back end just got on him the first time, but he's a long shot for sure, but he's hoping maybe to bump Oliver Silva out of here.
So Oliver Silva has withdrawn, obviously, from the qualifying line. Currently still the bubble driver. Fabio Viana on the outside looking in. What's he going to be able to do then? One more run before we can finally lock in our starters for next week's open wheel 500-mile race presented by Mitchell Transmissions. We also get to hand out in just a few minutes' time another one of our Pit Lane Parlay Awards, the On the Bubble Award, and I'm sure Oliver Silva will appreciate that at least. I'm not sure, Jonathan, it's going to be enough of a reward for all of the stress that he's probably been feeling in the last hour or so.
You know what? It's a reward to calm him down, maybe. Like, this is like the rewarding, like, little ice cream you get after a rough day, almost. Well, the one stress is good for you. It builds character. Yeah. I'm looking in our YouTube chat right now.
That is Evan Adams, currently in 40th place. He worked so hard trying to make the field as one of the many independent drivers. Another independent driver that we should recognize in the YouTube chat, Dylan Freckleton, currently on track to make it for a second consecutive year. But here we go. Fabio Viana then starts the final qualifying attempt in our bump day qualifications. 30 seconds left on the clock before the gun sounds. Viana out of turn 2. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. Warm-up lap was a 43.917. So one of the drivers who's taking that opportunity to really wind that car up and preserve the tires, Jonathan, as much as possible.
You need as much grip as you can on those final 2 laps. Those first 2 laps are crucial. You need fast first 2 laps, but it has to be those ending laps. You have to have a way to, like, equal out the speed. You can have like a 38.7 or something ridiculous on that first lap, but you can still fall out if you use too much of those tires.
Let's ride on board from a driver's eye view then for a 4-lap run here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Heading down the back straightaway in towards turn 3. Watch the car as the track banks in and the car just sucks itself to the ground. You can see Viana very, very smooth on his inputs right now. One of the drivers that is choosing to run in 6th gear. This is going to be lap number 2. How is it looking then in terms of the qualifying time for Viana? We wait for the official updates to come in from race control. Lap number 1, 39.048. Lap number 2, what's that one going to be? 39.003. Not good enough, Jonathan, unfortunately. Our final qualifying attempt looks like we've got our 33 cars locked and loaded. The 33 up on your screen on the left-hand side will be starting next week's race.
Yeah, unless a miracle happens, and I've seen crazy miracles. Unless a miracle happens in this 3rd and 4th lap, does not look good for Fabio Viana. He had a big accident on his first run. Hopefully he's able to complete this run and at least get a time on the board.
Lap number 3, 39.126. Wait for that to update then on the bottom left portion of your screen, but way off as things stand for Viana as he completes this final qualifying run across 2 days of qualifying, 12-hour days of qualifying. So we've seen 24 hours of total qualifying action basically here. Final hour coverage brought to you by RaceSpotTV of the bump day qualifications presented by Pit Lane Parlay. Across the line then for Viana, lap number 4, 39.212. Not going to be enough, and there we go. Jonathan, we are set. We have our grid locked and loaded. And my, oh my, what an interesting one this is going to be. Next week, Sunday, November 15th, the open wheel 500-mile race presented by Mitchell Transmissions, live on RaceSpotTV. This is a great event that Tanner Watkins and his entire team puts on, and we are super excited about broadcasting next week's race.
It's such a high-quality field, too. Like, even look at those times. They're so close together. Anything can happen. It's anyone's game.
It really can, and we will hopefully be joined by a few of the drivers in the next few minutes that have locked themselves into this field of 33 cars. Just a quick update. We have an update from Josh Huffine about that weird accident we saw on his outlap. Unfortunately, a black screen at the worst possible time, Jonathan. I mean, talk about technical issues. That is the worst possible thing you could have on one of your 3 qualifying runs here. To have a technical issue that means that you don't even get to start your warm-up lap for that qualifying run.
Yeah, it's I've had that happen to me too. When like there's a pop-up that comes up and you get a sudden black screen, and all of a sudden you're out of the race, you're in the wall, and it's really unfortunate. And again, technical gremlins still can haunt even the best of the best.
And hopefully in the next few minutes as well, we will get the starting order down from race control, and we will be able to walk you through the 11 rows of action that we will see start the race next weekend. Let's take the time then to bring in some of the starters for next week's race. Let's start with the highest one of the 3 drivers that's now joining us in the commentary booth, and that's Jesper Orman, a rookie to open wheels competition. Jesper, fantastic job to qualify up in 13th place, but now the hard work starts as you think about next week and the main race itself.
Yeah, thank you, Arjuna. I think I can hear you now. Yesterday was a bit of a problem there, but it feels good. You know, I'm starting 12th. It's going to be 4th row on the outside. I'm really happy with that. I did not expect that initially when I started this journey. Basically, it's been a month-long journey. And also, I got to say, I'm so happy for my teammate, Oliver Silva, making it 33rd fastest. So he's going to start 27th, I think. So it's a huge success for our team, which is started 1 year ago. So I'm so proud of Oliver, and I'm proud for the team, and I'm so happy.
Well, Jesper, tell us about all your prep for this event, because you're working with a newer group of guys to the IndyCar community, and that must be tough when you don't have a lot of the established knowledge and you know, processes that maybe some of the other teams do. Talk to us about that month of preparation and how much work you guys have been putting in to manage to get a few cars into the field for this race next week.
Yeah, I've been putting in something around 1,500 runs, qualification runs, and just taking hints from people in the community, people who are friendly, and like trying and testing. And actually, I've enjoyed every second of it. I've not been bored a single second. It's been worth it. It's so much fun. I love this. It's great, and I'm so happy.
And before we move on to the next driver, one question for you. You talked about that community support. The IndyCar community sometimes gets an unfair rap for, you know, maybe some excessive secrecy, especially when it comes to qualifying setups. Talk to us about that support, because I think that's an unfair representation. I think a lot of teams are willing to help out, and if you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers that will set you off on the right track.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Arjuna. There's been a couple of guys who's been really friendly towards me. And I've been showing to them that I've improved and I've understood what they said, and you know, it's an unfair reputation for sure. And the community is so good. There's so many really great guys out there, and it's going to be great next weekend.
Well, yes, but thanks for joining us, and good luck next week then. Let's move on to the next driver who's waiting for us in the commentary booth, Andrew Wood, who's going to be starting in 15th place. And Andrew, you're representing, obviously, the Team Talent boys, and talk to us about your preparation. You had a lot of drivers who were able to qualify for the official iRacing Indy 500 in the month of May, but this is a very different situation, and it looks like you guys have done another solid job of getting a good, solid haul of drivers into this race once again.
Yeah, Arjuna, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's definitely been quite a grind. We definitely felt a little bit on the back foot in the May race, and we really put in a lot of work to try and prepare for this. For myself, as you remember, I was in pretty much Oliver's position last year in the Open Wheels 500, except I did get bumped with 20 minutes to go, and I had to go out there for that final shaking run, and sadly it put me right on the outside. So I know exactly what Randy is going through right now, Randy Cheneth. Yeah, it's been such a wild ride. I've been so emotionally invested in this. We got 11 Team Talent drivers in the grid. That's 1/3 of the field, and we will be victorious next week.
I like the confidence there. It's a strong field next week. One of the interesting things, I'll ask you about this because you have a history in this community over the recent years. Young O, that's the big storyline here. He's going to be rolling off in 30th position, the outside of row number 10. I mean, this is a driver that took pole position this year in the iRacing Indy 500, and a driver that has always got so many strong performances in qualifying. It's very, very interesting and weird to see someone like that all the way down at the end of the field. But at the same time, I think it reflects on just how strong the field is this year, and the competition level is as strong as you could hope to have for a race like this.
I think you, along with every single person that has stepped foot on this track this weekend, agrees that it's completely crazy that Young O is sitting on the outside. Now, I've only been in the community for a few years. I've heard a lot about him in the past. Last year was the first time I actually saw what he could do. I was actually talking to Jesper right before we got into the interview here, and we were both just in complete shock and awe at how smooth he is, the lines he takes. It's so different from any person that has qualified from what I've reviewed, and he has some magic to him, but he probably just didn't have the car underneath him. The prep, we don't know what the level of preparation was. It was definitely a little bit surprising, but also he kind of made his bet on that first run when he binned it. It kind of set the tone for the beginning of the team, that it proved that they really had some work to do, and unfortunately one of their drivers from Snake Pit did not make the race. Yeah, it's crazy to see that that Young is so far down the order, and I hope that he has a good race, because last year's race didn't go so well for him either.
Well, one final question before I let you go as well. You're going to be starting on the outside of row number 5. It's great to have this 3-white start here at the Open Wheels 500. Talk to us about that and what that's going to be like as compared to the regular Indy 500, because of course that's only a 2-wide start, and we saw a lot of crazy racing in the Indy 500 this past May, especially on those initial starts where the draft and track position is so important. I'm hoping that 3-wide isn't going to be such an issue as we dive down into turn number 1, but it should be a very interesting thing to watch and a unique thing about the Open Wheels 500.
Yeah, the 3-wide start is incredibly breathtaking. Like, even just for a sim race, you're driving next to two guys, watching everybody in the field around you, thinking about how hard you worked for those pace laps that you do, and it all culminates, and you have what you have, and that's where it goes from there. It's definitely crazy. As for myself, I'm starting in row 5 next to 2 teammates, so it's going to be very interesting to see where I slot in on the first lap. I have my own teammates 1 row ahead of me, 2 of them that I really like to get together with and try and make some ground on the cars ahead. So it's going to be I have no idea what it's going to be like. Last season I started dead last car, so it's a different dynamic starting dead last and just watching all the cars ahead of you, so starting a little farther up, it's going to take a little bit of patience and trying to see where I slot in on pace, and yeah, it's just going to be crazy, and I'm looking forward to it next week.
Well, Andrew, good luck, and like we say, hope to see you doing well next week in the race itself.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Arjuna, and thanks for having me, and shout out to the Team Talent guys. We're going to work right now for the race next week.
And exactly 7 days to get to work. Final driver going to be joining us then. We've got Dakota DiCienzo. And Dakota, some more nail-biting moments for you. I know it was a disappointment back in May, not making it into the official iRacing Indy 500, but you're here. You made it into the Open Wheels 500, and at least in my opinion, I think in many ways this is more of an achievement. You get 3 runs, the pressure is on, and you went out there and you did the run that you needed to do. So congratulations, you'll be starting in 26th place.
Thank you, Arjuna. Yeah, I was really disappointed in May with my pace. I know I could have been better. So that really motivated me to come out here and actually get in to the field, because last year as well, I wasn't as fast in May, and I made this field. So
talk to us about the race then. We just talked to Andrew Wood about it, but what are your thoughts? You're going to be starting back in 26. That's going to be the middle of row 9. That's going to be a very different proposition to, I think, what Woodith is going to have to deal with, of course, because he'll be up in the relative safety, I think, in some ways, being towards the front of the field. You'll be right in the midst of all the action as we work our way into turn 1. How important is it going to be to keep it clean? I know you don't like it to be brought up, but you were one of the 2 cautions that we saw last year in the Open Wheels 500, and I know you want to make it to the end of this race. So what are you going to be focusing on, especially at the start?
Just to make it through the first turn. There's 33 cars going in there 200 miles per hour. I'm probably going to take it safe, going to back out of a 3 wide if that happens. Like you said, I did crash last year, and I really don't want to do that again. So I'm just going to take the race safe, pick up any positions I can, and go from there.
Dakota, before we let you go, anyone you need to thank from the team? It's been a long effort, I'm sure, to get into the race itself. I'm sure you've got some help from the team. Just give a quick shout out to everyone you want to.
Yeah, well, everyone at Team Talent, John HD for making a rocket with Jason Brophy, just the whole team, Liam for motivating me, Wood for being positive, and just everyone. It's a big team, and we all help each other, and now there's, I think, 11 of us in.
So if there's 11 of you, you've got a third of the field locked and loaded. No wonder Wood was sounding so confident about getting that race win. Dakota, good luck next week, and hopefully you make it a bit further than you did last year.
Thank you.
That was Dakota DiCienzo. Jonathan, before we wrap up, just want to get your thoughts. It was a tense final hour here. I know you might not have been following the action yesterday necessarily. We were busy on another broadcast that was also taking quite a while to finish up, as it were. But here we go. 33 cars locked and loaded. Next week's race should be something to behold. And, well, we talk about a third of the field being from one team. That's going to prove to be an interesting storyline in and of itself, in what already has so much to talk about and so many strong teams and drivers in the field this year.
They're going to be running similar setups, but they probably will not be running similar strategies. That's going to be something that very interesting. Are those 11 teammates going to be on a similar fuel strategy if it all goes green? There was only 2 cautions last year, remember? So are they going to be similar strategy, or are they going to race each other hard? And what about some of these smaller teams? We talked about Dylan Feggleton is an independent driver himself. Like, who's he going to have to help him out?
And I'm sure there's going to be assistance on the back end as well in terms of strategy, spotting, so many different factors that will be a big deal in who's going to take home this year's race win. Michele Constantini then, this year's pole position winner, last year's race winner, will start on the inside of row number 1. Outside of him will be Wilson Neto and Christopher Demerit. Row number 2, Christian Challoner, Brendan Lichtenberg, and Hugo Olsen. Row number 3, Matt Pavelski, Adam Blocker, and Joshua Chin. A row filled with IndyCar iRacing winners. Row number 4 then, Jason Brophy, Liam Quinn, and the rookie Jesper Orman. Row number 5, Chad Simpson, Adam Crane, the 2 satellite racing teammates, alongside Andrew Z. Wood. Row number 6, Marco Brazil, Matt Hollibaugh, and A.J. Burton. Row number 7, Andreas Eek, Andrew Kinsella, Chris Cahill. Row number 8, Henry Bennett, Niall McBride, and Tim Doyle. Working our way through the last 3 rows. Simon Bright for Sadie Sim Autosport's going to line up in 25th. Dakota DiCienzo, Oliver Silva on his outside. Row number 10 then, Austin Espity, Christopher Stouffer, and Young O. Last row of the grid, Logan Simmons, Dylan Freckleton, and Daniel Johnson will be the 3 cars bringing up the rear of our starting grid. Alternate drivers, Randy Cheneth, Rob Powers, and Brian Barney. They'll be on hand in case anything happens to one of the 33 locked-in drivers. let's take a look at our broadcast schedule very quickly before we go then, because it's not just coverage of the main 500-mile race here live on RaceSpotTV. We've just finished qualifying coverage November 7th and 8th, and we're excited to now look forward to the Open Wheels Veterans 100 and the Pit Stop competition. Those will both take place on the day before the 500, November 14th. We do have full coverage of the Open Wheels Veterans 100 qualifying as well. That will be live on November 13th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. The very next day, the day before the 500, that will be 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And then the big race itself, November 15th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 Pacific. You don't want to miss 500 miles of racing action. The Open Wheels 500-mile race presented by Mitchell Transmissions. Also, just a reminder, you can follow us for more sim racing action on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch at RaceSpotTV. If you aren't subscribed to us already on YouTube, please do click that button, hit the bell to be notified when we go live with all our sim racing broadcasts. That's going to be it here then for qualifying for the 2020 Open Wheels 500-mile race. Qualifications coverage presented by Pit Lane Parlay. For myself, Arjuna Kankipati, I've been joined by Jonathan Burke and the various drivers. TV cameras provided to us by Istvan Ballo of TrackCams22. We'll see you then on Friday for Veterans 100 qualifying. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.